covering a global market sell-off this morning. This is underway right now. Now, the Nasdaq entered correction territory on Friday, but we have seen a worsening in the futures market of the major indices since we have been on the air since 6 a.m. Eastern time. We are barely off of session lows, but the Dow Jones Industrial is now down 1,250 points. That is a loss of more than 3%. The Nasdaq is down 1,067. That is a loss of 5.75%, and the S&P is down 231. That is a loss of more than 4.25%. I want to say also Europe is also in a tailspin. Just to let you know here, we do have the FTSE, the CAC 40, and the DAX, and all of them are substantially down. Germany taking the worst hit, down almost 3.5%. Asia, we had read across the board, and remember what we saw in Japan. Japan's now in a bear market. Japan lost 12%, over 12% actually, at the close. Mark Tepper and Liz Peek are on set with me. We've been watching this together all morning long. Mark.
It's getting ugly real fast out there. So, I mean, look, right now, the volatility index, or the fear gauge, which is a measure of how afraid investors are right now, it's at a 65. And just to put that in perspective, if we go back to March of 2020, when the pandemic was full swing and people were locked up in their houses, it was 53. It's 65 right now. You go back to March of 2009 when we had the banking crisis, it was 44. We're at a 65 right now. Investors are incredibly scared. And I have to tell you, this cannot just be due to Friday's payroll report, because on Friday, the market was down about 2%. So there's more going on than just that. I think the other two issues are, number one, Warren Buffett unloaded half of his Apple position. That's a guy who's buy and hold forever. All of a sudden, he's, maybe he doesn't have a high conviction on Apple going forward. And then obviously the increasing probability of a full-scale war in the Middle East. You put those three things together, and it's an ugly situation in the markets today.
And Liz, I mean, the initial caveat to this was that jobs report last Friday, and we saw the market sell off on Friday. Fears of a recession brewing over the weekend. But to Mark's point, you have a potential strike on Israel by Iran, as well as we're an election year. I mean, there's a lot of things that the recession talk is really what
I think on the economy, the jobs report was pretty poor, but it really kind of brought to a head a lot of concerns about credit card delinquency spiking, consumer sentiment being in the toilet again and perpetually over the last several months, the fact that consumer spending is dwindling. I just think there are an awful lot of reasons people were concerned about a possible slowdown in the economy, and now there is actual evidence that it's happening.